Jim Hendry. And Jim, the big news breaking on Sunday was that Juan Soto opted for the deal with the Mets. But is there a takeaway from a full year of having a Juan Soto around and how that impacted the organization?
Well, he was obviously tremendous. One of the elite hitters in the game, and someday maybe one of the elite hitters of all time. I mean, he did what we'd hoped. He'd helped us get to the World Series. We didn't finish it off. We got outplayed and didn't deserve to win at the end. But, yeah, I think we all knew, and from ownership on down, that when we made the trade, it wasn't made like, oh, for sure, we'll extend him. Or that's way above me, but it wasn't made but anything but to try to win right now. It was a really fair deal for both sides. A.J. Preller did well, knowing that he had to move him and he wasn't going to be able to re-sign him. So it was a fair deal. And obviously the combination of what he and Judge did is, you got to go back to Ruth and Gehrig and Maris and Mantle to get in that ballpark. So it was tremendous, and obviously you're not going to replace the hitter itself, but obviously starting with ownership and the years Cass has been doing this, we'll regroup. Might have to change the deck of how we do it, but we'll have a real good baseball team, and we'll be ready to contend again for the World Series.
But when you look back on last year, what else needs to change to really push this team over the edge?
Well, I think, when you have certain characteristics of certain kind of teams. Obviously, we were made to beat you offensively and hit the ball at the ballpark, and that works a lot of times. When you have that kind of club and you have failures, usually some of the warts that comes with that gets exposed. It doesn't take a genius to figure out we didn't play as good a defense as we should have in the World Series. We played better than that most of the time during the season. We didn't run the bases well. But it's a fragile world. The Dodgers are a great team. We really could have, and in our minds should have, won Game 1.
Yeah.
If we won Game 1, it might have changed the whole complexion. So if you won Game 1 and then you won 4 and 5, then you're going back having to win one game. And obviously we played horribly in Game 5.
Yeah. Brian Cashman was with us yesterday, said something interesting about Aaron Boone. Said he manages young players well, but also knows how to manage the millionaires with a lot of money in their bank accounts, and that's a real thing, obviously, in today's game. How do you, with that scouting eye you have, find good players and even veteran players that might be out there on the free agent or trade market that still have that love and that ability, that desire to grind? Because some guys lose it.
Yeah, you're right. And most of the time, it's such a different process now. And Damon Oppenheimer runs a great ship at my amateur scouting department. The old days, when you scouted for the draft, when the draft was over, you did pro coverage. Now it's a separate pro scouting department, and the amateur scouts 10, 11 months a year are starting in the 9th, 10th grade with these guys. So you have a basis of a lot of guys that are going to be drafted, the character, the makeup, their background, and then you keep up with that in the whole industry. Guys you had in the draft playing for other teams, but you have a resource to go back character-wise from day one. We still put a high premium on that when you acquire people. I mean, some people have better makeup than others, but you don't dismiss that in the trading process or free agents.
Jim, it's been busy in that room already today. Can you just describe the intensity and what's been going on upstairs?
Well, it's like it always is, whether it's the winter meetings or the trade deadline. You got 10, 12 guys in there. You got Cash, who's been doing this for 25 years, orchestrating everything, and the next thing you know, it's a phone call from an agent, it's a phone call from a GM, and then there's a lot of sit around waiting time in between, because you might have 4 or 5 balls in the air, and you spend a lot of the time worrying about which shoe may drop first. And in our situation now, we got different directions we could go after you lose a guy like Soto. So it's hey, if we get this, then we maybe pivot to that, and a lot of balls are still obviously up in the air, but it's fun, it's exciting, but you end up with a ton of dead time and nothing you can control about the other person calling you back.